Marvel's been struggling. It's not really a secret anymore, whether you look at the box office, whether you look at streaming, whether you just look at overall excitement for the brand. And it looks like one more thing is about to go very, very wrong for them. For the past year, there's been this controversy surrounding Marvel VFX. Once people in the VFX industry started to directly call out working for Marvel and how terrible it's been, how they have no time to prepare for these things, how they get these crazy deadlines for not very much money. And they're really kind of worked to the bone because Marvel has so many projects going on, and all of them have an intense amount of VFX, which is why things like Thor: Love and Thunder look like dog shit. She-Hulk looks like dog shit. And it feels like CGI is taking a step backwards because of the way Marvel is utilizing VFX workers. All that may be very quickly coming to an end. Marvel VFX artists vote to unionize. So Marvel's no longer... If this goes through, Marvel will no longer be able to use the VFX artists, the VFX industry in the same way. They're no longer going to be relying upon VFX workers cramming on 100-hour weeks to get things done coming up to the end of a deadline. Because one, they're probably going to have to pay them more. And two, they're probably going to limit how much they can actually work. But this is going to be a game changer for them with the way that they've been doing things. Visual effects crews at Marvel Studios have voted to unionize, IATSE announced on Monday. A press release notes, a supermajority of Marvel's more than 50 worker crew has signed authorization cards indicating they wish to be represented by the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees. So if you don't know what IATSE, just like you have a Writers Guild, an Actors Guild, all this stuff, IATSE is basically, they represent everybody that's on like part of the crew, whether you're talking about somebody that holds microphones or a camera operator or editors or things like this. For the longest time, visual effects artists have not gone into this. This could start a steamroll, not just for Marvel, but for Hollywood in general, if this happens. And it could take these budgets that have already been massive, these insane $200+ million budgets for these terrible streaming shows, that could skyrocket those things if this does go through. Just think of the budgets we've had, and now imagine that they're paying the VFX workers, I don't know, twice as much as they are now. This is something that could get disastrously bad for them.
Marvel is in such a bad way. It is the definition of a house of cards right now because it is crumbling right before our very eyes. And now you're just adding something that can balloon these budgets even more. I don't know how they find their way out of this right now. They rely so much on the CG and everything like that. CG's been okay. It's been really good in some ways, but the overuse of it, the over-reliance on it, I think has ruined a lot of movies. And it's just gotten ridiculous. Back in like Infinity War and even going back to like Guardians 2 and Guardians 1, those movies look better than current MCU movies now.
In a lot of ways, yes.
Yeah.
Because go back to what Iron Man 1 looked like. If you go watch Iron Man 1, they did a lot of practical stuff with that was augmented with CGI. But that looks incredible compared to a lot of the stuff they're doing now. Once they did go full digital with Iron Man in general, it was a change for sure and started looking different. But now when you look at She-Hulk, when you look at Thor: Love and Thunder, when you look at Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, especially the last two, She-Hulk just looked bad in general. But those last two felt like the entire thing was just in a volume, in a green screen, because that's what it was. And then they rely on these visual effects artists to do so much of the fucking work, and they don't have enough time to get it done because Marvel doesn't give them very good plans and changes things last second. So then they're sitting there and cramming because, again, they didn't have these rules put in place. I'm not a big fan of unions in general, but the fact that they are joining the union, that's going to be bad news, probably for them in some ways, but also for these studios.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden, they're not going to be able to work 100-hour weeks in the lead up to getting these things done, at least not without paying them a significant amount of overtime, which that's not something that's been happening. And the whole Marvel VFX situation has gotten really bad over the past year. After the reports came out about how bad it was working for Marvel, Taika Waititi openly mocked the CGI in his own movie. That didn't sit well with these people. Then you had the reports coming out of the pressure, the crunch, all this stuff in the VFX industry, directly tying back to Victoria Alonso, who then got fired from Marvel. They may have thought that would be their saving grace. They fired the person that was, the root cause of all these problems, but it turns out that's not the case. So if Marvel VFX artists do it, there's a good chance that a lot of other people in the industry follow along the way. So even if they're trying to go to outside entities, it might not work. You're really going to have to just farm stuff out to really cheap overseas stuff at this point, which they've already been trying to do. But this might be really, really rough.